just dudes, really anybody, but I think dudes do this more than anyone else. You mentioned Miller High Life. Somebody in the background that you didn't even know was at the function will be like, the champagne of beers?
Well, I have a question, though. So, what would you guys call the beer of champagne?
I don't know enough about champagne.
Yeah, I don't know enough about champagne to have a funny answer for that. I don't know.
Oh, well, okay.
Do you know any champagne brands? Carrie, what's your answer?
I don't know a single brand of champagne.
I didn't realize these are...
Welch's?
They're rolling.
Yeah,
Welch's.
we're good to go. We are good to go. We're going right now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Purple Fanta.
Hi, and welcome to the Outside Noise podcast for the month of December 2024. Isn't everyone excited to talk about our favorite album from the last month of last year?
Is this good?
Oh, I'm so... Julie,
This will be great.
Is this thing on?
Yay! I'm Kaylin. I'm joined by
Carrie.
by Carrie. And by Julia. And
Michael.
We're a little silly, I guess.
awesome. Well, we're
around.
warmed up. We just recorded an episode of our Album of the Week podcast for our Patreon patrons.
We just figured out our very first album of the week for 2025.
Isn't that
Wow,
exciting?
go check it out so you can know what it is right now.
Don't you want to know?
It was decided in a super,
Exciting.
In a super silly
satisfying
way.
Yeah.
You'll have to.
Yeah, you're gonna listen to that and be like, "Damn, that was very legitimate."
And so, worth my time.
And
Damn,
worth
that
my,
was very legitimate.
You can get a free trial, so you don't even have to pay.
You don't even have to
money
waste
for
your
it right
money.
away.
But to kick things off, though, we have to close out 2024 still with December. We have 4 albums up for talking about. Kaylin, would you please share with the beautiful audience the albums that we will
with our
discuss?
beautiful and intelligent audience? Yes, I will. We're talking about from December 6th, Horrible Occurrences by Advanced Bass, December 13th, Chewing Bread by Basils, Kite, December 20th, Antilebanon by Lebanon, and December 27th, Twilight in the Forbidden City by Stanicpornocultshop.
Awesome. Should we jump in chronologically and go?
Yes.
It's worth noting that I think Julia was out of town for 2 of these. But
Hey, Julia is out of town for one and out of commission for another.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I was gonna say she was here in spirit, Julie. I don't know if you noticed the photos of you behind you, but you were there. You were present when we made these decisions.
In our heart.
Awesome.
You sign off on them
Oh,
due
okay.
to the contract.
Okay.
So yeah, let's start with Horrible Occurrences by Advanced Bass. This was a really pretty kind of twee indie tronica album, which isn't normally the type of thing that we would cover, I guess. Although, Michael, we did just talk about Soho Hum by Morbet, which is kind of in a similar vein. But this album was like easily my favorite pick for this week that it came out. A really touching like singer-songwriter album about this imagined town of Richmond that the artist kind of puts like every bad thing that's ever happened like lives in this town. And the storytelling, I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about this album. I thought about this earlier today. I was like, what, when did that album come out? So I'm really glad I get to talk about it today. Yeah, just heartbreaking. This literally made me cry like a little baby listening to this album. And I'm not like a super easy crier, so
Well, they're kind of winding love songs, even in the same breath as they are very heartbreaking. They're really touching and very personal. I love the idea that he's just sort of amassed all these bad memories and sort of put them in a town, in a place. And so there's characters that you hear about earlier in the album that he mentions offhand later. So you have this like small world that he's really written, and it's so cool. I found it very gripping, and I think I said during our discussion, some of this stuff can be a little melodramatic. This type of thing can make you roll your eyes, but I found it very sweet,
very touching
and good, and I liked it. I felt good about it being the win.
A really nice like wintertime album too. It's that good, kind of like snowy, sweet, really nice.
If you like Sun Kill Moon, you'll like it.
Yes,
have you
Michael
gone and
talked a
listened
lot
to that,
about Sun
Kaylin?
Kill Moon.
No, I haven't. Sorry, I know we talked about that as well, but still on the list.
Yeah, Kaylin keeps picking albums for album of the week that make me go, oh, this sounds a lot like Sun Kill Moon, and then I keep trying and failing. I'm gonna just have to like We're gonna have to go on like because the dude has made like dozens of albums, so we're gonna have to go on like a road trip to like Seattle or something. So we can, like, force everyone to listen. To
I'm just not often in the mood for that really like sad kind of folksy
Well, like
stuff.
you said, it's not stuff you typically would go for.
Right. So
it's unique
maybe
in that
I
way.
need to
But maybe,
wait till it's like raining and then go get on the bus and put my headphones in and look out the window and get in my feelings.
I
that
like
would no joke be the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be it. Well, cool.
right.
That was December 6th. That was St. Nicholas Day. Are we ready to talk
I
about...
forgot it was St. Nicholas.
That's St. Nicholas Day.
And then Friday the 13th.
And then Friday the 13th was the week that Chewing Bread by Basils Kite won. This is cool. They kind of had like an anti-mindfulness philosophy, which we talked a bit about. Mostly just that it is unique.
Mm-hmm.
For me, not necessarily that I didn't like identify with it, but I like that it was explored, I guess, especially from like the consumerism.
I at least
standpoint.
understand it. I understand being mad.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talked
That's
about
fine.
the
That's- yeah.
We talked about the concept of like spiritual bypass and how it's very easy to lean into like I'm just going to work on improving myself and like my mindfulness practice
Well, right.
instead of like actually paying attention meaningfully to things that are going on around you on like a
so
broader
that
scale.
excuses all the bitchy stuff I do.
Yeah. You don't own anyone anything.
But then also,
there you
if you're constantly like, oh my god, what can I be doing to stop climate change? Whenever you're like deciding like which side of the couch you should sit on to better
Right.
fight climate change, it gets,
Yeah.
Which straws do I buy? Like,
right.
It's like it is so
It's
much
over.
bigger than that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so fucked. Yeah, and so like the shame that comes with that too. It's really cool. It was mathy and built up to these really big moments of like metalcore almost.
Yeah, really
it was a
good
cool pick.
math core stuff, which also doesn't get on our radar a lot. But I think this had the concept and the execution to back it up that easily made it our pick for album of the week.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you sat these people down and talked to them, they'd probably have a more nuanced perspective on the whole mindfulness thing. But this is just a
Yeah,
reaction
sure.
to
I mean,
the mindfulness overruns.
It was like
It's-
one line that they put in the liner notes. We're really like extrapolating.
I feel like the lyrics go along with it.
mean,
I feel
yes,
like it
but
makes sense.
Anti-corporation at its heart.
Yeah,
Not-
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too.
anti-complacency.
yeah.
Anti-allowed opposition.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
would be like mindfulness.
We also talked about mindfulness being marketed as a way to be a more productive worker. And how
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the most obvious thing that this is attacking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as
just
like
it all goes back to corporation
salary benefit.
sell me thing. I assimilate.
I give everything to it.
And we'd like to thank our sponsor BetterHelp. You can use code outside
No,
for 20%
you will
off.
never catch us with a better health sponsorship. I don't know
Aren't
about
they
yeah.
with the beep
With the
doing beep and beep?
I don't know what you're talking about, but probably. I don't know what that
I think it's just
Girl, the boycott.
just not
Yeah.
working. There.
or download Headspace, or download, it's just like,
Ooh.
all
There's
of it.
too much of it. Cool. Any other thoughts on Chewing Bread?
It was good.
Yeah,
We
it was
liked
fun.
it.
Good piss taking punk.
good. It was good and I liked it.
Awesome. December 20th, right before Christmas here. I think 3 out of the 4 of us picked Antilebanon by Lebanon. This was another really cool album.
Yeah, it's has a little bit of that like screamo edge. It is just a good damn ass rock record. It's very emotional. It's kind of just pure emotional intensity, and it really kind of leaves it up to you where that goes for you. But I kind of looked at the liner notes and looked at the theming around it and kind of like what I could glean from like the record itself, and kind of went in a direction of like epiphany and how like sometimes the greatest epiphany is the thing you were chasing wasn't that great after all, or it was only great because you were chasing it and putting energy into it.
The experience of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like literally the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think that works. I think that frame works. Just go in with something like that on your mind, and this album will deliver.
Yeah, I like how varied it is. It gets very intense in a metal sort of a way.
Yeah, it's
You
metallic
said
too.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know if I said
metallic and really long tracks. These ideas that sort of melt together very interestingly, and then I might have talked about this on the podcast. I don't remember, but I have a note about how like the structure of the songs, it's like a dip will happen in the very middle of the track and not at the beginning or end of the track. Which is very interesting pacing wise, and I always appreciate it.
Yeah, you see that happen in like I not that I think that they pulled that from traditional scrams, but that does happen in some of those older recordings from like the 90s.
Yeah, it's definitely an approach. Yeah, that has been done and people use. It's here and it sounds really good. Yeah, you see it in black metal
too. But you're right. Outside of those like super niche genres, that's a pretty weird way to structure a song.
Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, that was Antilebanon.
Cool. And then on December 27th, we had Twilight in the Forbidden City by Stanicpornocultshop. This was crazy. I have loved this band for a really long time, so I'm very happy to see them on our list here. Yes. Yeah. And it's more dance music.
Yeah, it's like footwear.
Yeah, it's like a continuous DJ set.
Yeah.
It's a DJ set.
Yeah.
It's not always dancey though. They're not married to the having 1 BPM the entire time.
But there's always like a dance element.
Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, it's definitely a dance record, but it's not enslaved to the steady beat.
Yeah, they do folk and Chinese opera, free jazz, hip hop.
Yes. Just crazy ass array of sampling.
Yeah.
The way that they do some of these, like free jazz elements on top, like I think I said in our last discussion about it, was like it's genuinely hard to tell if they had someone playing over that just for this, or if they just really like perfectly threw those samples in. I mean, it's unreal. It does not sound like a live set in any way. It sounds extremely refined.
I don't know. Also, every single turn is like very unexpected, I think, for a DJ set, which makes it, I guess, undanceable, like you were talking about. You don't really know where your little dance is going. I don't know. I love it.
The amount of like tempo and time shifts and everything do make it kind of undanceable, but it's like, I don't know, it's really cool and repetitive enough that it becomes meditative, but it's also like every repetition has something different going on too. I think this album's only like 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's really tight. And it's surreal and abstract and avant-garde, but also surprisingly listenable. All that being said, I think you can put it on and groove to it. Even though you might get a little confused, but you'd be like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it does like the psychedelic thing where it'll have like one repeating thing, like to Carrie's point about like repetition. It'll have like one repeating motif that kind of blends into like the next repeating motif starts before that first one ends, and then they both kind of reappear throughout the rest of the piece. It'll be, things like that.
Entwined together. They're holding hands and jumping in a circle.
Yes. Yeah. Go in with an open mind. But this is a really, really solid pick.
Yeah. Love
these are all solid picks. Do we have anything that's standing out so far?
Yeah. Or any last cases to plead before we say 3, 2, 1 and I'll say our picks out loud at the same time?
I got mine.
I genuinely don't even know what I'm picking.
Man,
I think after chatting has helped. When I was going into this episode, I was like, I have no idea which one I'm gonna pick.
What are your thoughts?
I think I know what I'm gonna pick now.
Are we saying them at the same time?
2.
No, that's crazy.
Stanicpornocultshop.
I kind of think chewing bread.
I was gonna say chewing bread.
Oh shit! Are we 2 and 2?
Yeah, because I think like the chewing bread becomes. Like, it goes from being a good album to being a great album when you find out, especially, like, right at the end, that they can make these, like, put-together, choreographed, accessible bangers.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go back through the record and, like, see, like shards of that everywhere that you didn't really notice the first time.
It's got a little bit of that in Stanicpornocultshop.
It's got a little bit of a Fight Club-esque,
It is
okay.
Cool.
You get to the end and you gotta watch it again.
I definitely like what the album does, and I like what we've said about it, but it's so unsatisfying when it comes down to this. But I'm like, I just didn't like the music as much as I like Stanicpornocultshop.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Sometimes that like metalcore type thing just isn't.
Well, I get it. These are two genres that don't really show up a lot on here, so and either one would be an interesting.
Yeah, and
pick.
Never head to head. It does feel a little weird to pick between them, but I love that dance footwork shit. I love the weird samples. Yeah. So I don't know how we're gonna figure this one out.
I know. I'm gonna switch my vote over.
Yeah, I don't really. I was like either one of those is fine.
Okay. As
very well deserved.
Yeah, as a longtime Stanicpornocultshop fan, I think I have to throw my not throw my hat in the ring. That's not the right.
I think that's the right
Cast
thing.
your
I have
vote.
to cast my vote.
Oh,
Sure.
throw your hat in the ring would
Sure.
mean you're running.
Yeah.
I forgot.
It's like, no,
Not
I have
yet.
to throw my weight behind this
yeah, throw your
band?
weight
Sure.
behind. That's correct.
That's the idiom.
Cool.
Well,
Oh.
great. I feel good about that. Twilight
Feels
Forbidden
good.
City, winning
Yeah.
album of the month.
Do we have honorable mentions? I know I've got quite a few, but
yeah.
I'm gonna try not to ramble the whole time about all of my honorable mentions.
I have one.
Go.
I want to talk about Worstian. I talked about it before. Raspid
yeah.
by Worstian. It's cool. Just a album that explores a lot of dark minimal styles. It's like trip hop and art pop, and they do like ambient sound collage. It's about feeling displaced after deciding to flee Russia after the invasion of Ukraine, and how they just sort of feel unsettled about it all. And there's still so many question marks like in their life and logistics and everything. The impact of like a decision having to be made very quickly years ago now.
Yeah.
Still not being resolved.
Yeah,
So
it's like, can you
cool.
go back? Is that even possible? It's
Yeah.
like, just this weird like limbo kind of thing. We talk a lot about
And
like
it's great music as well.
and we talk a lot about like liminal space, but when your entire life is kind of stuck in this weird liminal area of not really having like a permanent residence. Yeah. Interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Mine for something I picked that did not win album of the week that I would have given a shot at album of the month is New Old Horse by Twine.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Twine.
yeah, Twine.
I liked the Twine.
If you like one of our biggest success stories here at Outside Noise, There Is a Well by Shallow Water, then you'll like this. It's in that, I mean, these are really two of the only bands I know doing this, so it's kind of interesting that they
To
both...
such like a successful and like impactful extent. Like we have some stuff that's sort of fusioned with country, but this just has the perfect combination of that sort of noise and gaze alongside it. Yeah.
Tombstone Poetry also put out a very good emo country album earlier last year. I guess that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, but these bands almost like they call back to like a style of like post-hardcore and noise rock that like wasn't that big like commercially and wasn't even that big like critically at the time. They're just pulling from such a very specific point and infusing it with country, and it just works. And I don't really get how it works or how they even saw that. That's an insane thing to pick out, but it rocks. And this band is kind of doing it too. This band is doing it maybe from a more accessible angle, maybe a little bit more folksy, maybe not as like I feel like Shallow Water, everything's integrated in a way where it is very daring and very like in the like every single thing from the instrumentation down to the composition is a straight half and half mix of those two sounds.
Yeah.
Versus this is a little bit more like we're gonna layer these two things on top of each other. So it's a little more accessible, I would say.
Cool
for that.
Yeah, I can see how it would be easier to like pick out the influences when it's structured just a little differently. And
Right.
then I also don't know if it makes a difference, but they're Australian, and I know Australian country is like its own genre in its own way.
Yeah, I don't really
wonder-
know a lot about it.
Yeah,
but,
I wonder if it makes a difference or if that's just like a creative thing. Any
I mean,
differences between them and
the
genre.
most country-ish thing I think is the fiddle parts, and that feels pretty.
The fiddle is crazy on this
Yeah,
album.
yeah. It feels like it could be. I don't know if there's anything super different about Australian fiddle playing, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really talking out of my ass, but it is
I
interesting.
mean, I know you're probably right. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna pivot wildly and shout out Sorcery by DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ.
New DJ Sabrina.
Crazy underrated. I can't believe that she has as few monthly listeners as she does. This album is incredible, impeccable, like dance house music.
And for how prolific she is too, just putting shit out all the time.
She
Who would
put
want
out-
more fun DJ mixes.
She put out like 4 albums last
before,
year.
right? Like on like a rapid fire or something.
Yeah,
Briefly,
yeah.
yeah. Or like Dance Roundup, Rest in
Yes.
Peace.
I think we've talked about her in a couple podcast episodes too.
But yeah, this is great.
cool.
So sparkly and shiny and beautifully mixed, and just like pulls these samples, both a mix of stuff that I've never heard before, and then also things that are instantly recognizable. So
And, like,
anyone who
cut
listens,
to your soul.
yeah. Like classic, like old school stuff like this. I think this is a anonymous artist as well. No one really knows who
I think
this
so.
I was
person
about to
is.
ask that. Isn't this supposed to be like a secret famous person?
Supposedly, I don't know if that's true. She's at least anonymous, but really knows her stuff, and it shows. And this album is great, and all of her music is great. And please give her the attention that she deserves.
Funniest possible outcome. It's Drake.
I think it's Dead Mouse. No, I'm kidding. That'd be crazy
Wow,
too.
two very hilarious outcomes.
Thanks, Julia.
Julia just loves to suck the air out of the room.
Okay, yeah.
Well, guys,
Crazy.
great thoughts. I'm gonna.
There have literally been times that like Julia and I are like on an hours long road trip and it's just us and like I say something and she makes a comment like that and then it's just an hour of silence.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah,
what am I supposed to say to that?
I look at my phone.
Yeah.
I look down at my phone.
You're
While
on
she's
your
driving.
phone in
While
the
she's driving.
podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
I do that sometimes, but I'm using my phone to record.
one time Michael said over a Discord friend call when we were all playing Minecraft together over COVID that I have a way of dead-ending conversations. And I took that shit to heart. And, you know, I've learned you just got to ask people stuff.
You gotta ask questions.
You got to ask them
Well, I mean,
anything.
what Julia's doing here is intentionally being a
Oh,
dick.
yeah. She's swerving
Yeah, exactly.
to not have to talk to anyone, which is fine.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Very. It's a tactic.
Ooh, tactic.
It is a strategy.
I like that
I'm
it's good that you're
implementing-
self-aware about it.
Yes,
Good. I had no
am-
idea I had a way of dead-ending conversations until someone told it to me to my face.
I think it's your subconscious driving it. You're like, I actually don't want to talk to you,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna.
I don't remember what it was, but you did say something and then everyone
dude.
stopped talking.
You just say like cool man, and then
Yeah, it was something like cool man, which is really not your fault.
No, because once you said it, I reflected, and I had asked like my sister about it, and she said like, yeah, she's like,
like,
we do
"You're an
that
asshole."
to each other, but it's like you can tell I'm trying to like acknowledge what was said, but that I don't have anything to add to it. So I'm like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah,
But-
is going like, yeah, for sure.
Anyway, all
I'd
that
be
to
like,
say,
thank you for sharing, and I appreciate
your insight.
your brand new ideas that you are sharing with me.
Yeah, like if somebody said that shit to me, I would be so fucking. I would not even know what to do.
Listen, sometimes it's important to see how you're perceived so that you can improve. And I feel like I've become a better conversationalist in the 5 years since you told me that, Michael. Thanks.
wow.
Well, I think
We've all
I want to
learned
hear
grown.
about your pick, Julia.
Sorry that Michael the Truth Nuke had to come in. And
No,
fucking-
listen. You need to be friends. You need to keep people around who are 100% with you.
That's so true.
Yeah. My pick is "Look Outside, We're Dying" by Sap House.
Ooh.
Sap House.
Yes, it's an emo slowcore album, Bandcamp only, and it has this like cello playing behind it. I just thought it was really fun. It's another like it's not emo country like that, but it's more like a folksy emo. It's like super detuned.
Is it more in the vein of something like a Truck Violence rather than a Shallow Water?
No. It's like softer than that.
Okay, when I hear folk, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Slowcore
Emo folk.
is a good description.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a slowcore with a cello.
Yeah, I think cello with slowcore would go really nicely together.
It's kind of gorge.
It really like deepens
okay.
it.
I think there
Nice
was
listeners.
this person I think is a established figure in the Chicago emo scene because I think they had a Kinsella factor on this record. They had some Kinsella involvement.
Okay, word.
Which I don't know. Those are the Kinsella brothers were in Captain Jazz and American Football. But
Gotcha.
Red Steve.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, that's probably where
yeah.
the genius comes from.
That's why I liked it. There was a genius behind it.
Oh,
Or at least like a
Well, it's just-
familiarity.
I mean,
yeah.
that's just a sign of like. That's just to give you a context. Is like anyone who knows
Well, right.
the Kinsellas is in a certain kind of world.
yeah, in the flavor of it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And there was a certain flavor to it.
There's definitely a little bit of flavor. There's a little kick to
A
it.
taste that
Taste
I
it.
taste that.
What does it taste like?
It tasted really sad.
Like canned tuna. No, I'm kidding.
No, yum.
Oh.
I can't wait to post this episode on the internet.
On YouTube for God and everyone to see. This one's not
Well, it's
Patreon
not gonna
exclusive,
waste-
baby. This
the
is
one that's
going
gonna blow up,
wide.
by the way.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
having fun, to be fair.
I'm having fun. Can I talk about more honorable mentions? I have
You have
I have a
more?
lot.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have so many. I could talk
I'm out
about
of steam.
every album that came out last month.
You talk about every album that came out last month.
Please no.
Okay. I'm gonna I'll keep it brief, and I'm going to shout out. I'm not saying the full name of this album. I will shorten it to Phi Den by Tra. This is a artist that's also quite prolific and is very well liked, I think, within the like atmospheric black metal kind of scene. And it's a whole world that this artist has built. And I wanted to review this album and kind of talk about like music as escapism, both for the artist and the listener. But it's absolutely beautiful work. I know like black metal isn't always like the most melodic or like pretty, but this pulls in some like dungeon synth elements and combines them with like real raw black metal. It's very intense. It's not that like cleaned up kind of sound that you might hear from something more like Sunbather or whatever. It's really, really intense and equally gorgeous, and I really love
liked
this stuff
one too.
Loved it.
Yeah, I liked the pacing. It was a really short one.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't
tracks,
know.
yeah.
I liked. I think the lulls and then the gaining in intensity, very tasteful because sometimes, we love to throw this around, the epicness of it all.
The epicness.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
cinema, the cinematics.
Yeah. This one takes a good
Sometimes it
breath.
does get cinematic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does, and that's okay. I
But
really like this one.
It uses the space really well,
Yes.
and it's just magical. I really loved this piece. More people should listen to
Yeah.
this artist.
Tasteful, chic.
Great.
It was good and I liked it.
conclusion, it was good and I liked
Well
it.
known in the underground, but highly underrated in the mainstream, which I think is really what we try to touch on here at Outside
For
Noise.
sure, mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, mostly.
Do we have any comments about the album of the year stuff from last year? Now that we're
Now that we're back
Any
around.
closing thoughts?
Julia wasn't even here.
I liked the response to Mope Grooves after we posted our lists on Instagram. Kaylin and I were approached by 2 separate people at a show and said, I didn't know about Mope Grooves and I listened to it because of your video and it's fantastic and thank you, which feels good.
Nice.
Feels good. Feels good.
That people gave a shit about the countdown.
That
videos.
random people who I've never met in
Yeah.
my life are now approaching me in public
and saying that album was awesome.
I was like, oh my god.
That number one, the coveted number one slot always got people.
Yeah.
Always got people tuning in.
It was fun. I liked the response to it. It's the best that videos that I have edited and posted have done. So thanks for the love on that.
I like the guy who said that we didn't cover enough jazz.
Yeah.
How do you guys
What
think
about,
about that?
like Wendy Eisenberg?
I
Was
promptly
there?
replied to him with all of the jazz albums that were on the list.
I mean,
Which
sorry.
I don't
it
reply
was only
with
3
that.
or 4, but they were there. That's my thing. Is like it's clearly you just didn't.
I mean,
There were a lot of
it's
them that
possible
weren't
that we don't
inherently
do that.
jazz, but there was a lot of jazz influence. This was a very
There's a
jazzy
lot of jazz
2024.
I was gonna say it wasn't like strictly jazz, but that's because like
Yeah.
we need some better strict.
That's
we're
because a lot of his
not-
boring.
No, it's just not what we go for.
Did we,
but I love when jazz.
No,
is,
take shots.
No.
Do we categorize Still Houseplants as like a jazz, or is that just like a
No.
jazz?
I would say it's jazz. Jazz
Okay,
is.
I didn't
jazz
include
is.
it.
I
but-
because there's that one.
Yeah.
that was
There
also
was-
in the top 50.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, yeah. I
don't
thought
know.
it was an interesting thing to say because that's just not my takeaway. But he's probably just a jazz head, which
Just
is
some
good.
guy.
Which is
Even the
Yeah.
C-May album had some jazz moments
yes,
on it.
I said the C-May had jazz. Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of this.
look,
I think
he's
he wants
probably
us
right.
to do like literally straight up like jazz.
Yeah.
and that's not always what we do.
You gotta
Like
keep
90%
tabs on
of the
those
time.
professors.
We've
putting
talked
out,
about
like-
how we feel like we're not like
We're not like jazz.
Yeah,
It's like that.
it's a crossroads of thinking this is so fucking hard to get into if you're not like super aware of the it's so much of freeform jazz is hard to crack if you're not literally there with the people and seeing the expressions on their faces and what they were talking about beforehand and all of that stuff.
And watching the musicians look at each other and actively play off each other. I mean, sometimes you can hear that on albums. Sometimes you can feel it come through the recording. But I totally agree that jazz is best experienced live a lot of the time.
Yeah, and also it's there's just a level of a lot of jazz heads will be this. This record is unbelievable because of the modal switch between the Mixolydian, and it's okay. At some point, the musical knowledge of the four of us does not quite reach.
Yeah, and I mean, there absolutely we see new up and coming jazz musicians putting out albums, but a lot of the jazz stuff that I find is always this dude is, like Julie said, a professor, or it's all people who are 50 and have been doing jazz for
it's very to be bourgeois.
Yeah, I was about to say it's this very very formulaic, highbrow.
I wouldn't say formulaic, but I would say academic.
No, I think
I would say
that's
gilded.
What I mean.
I would say it's gilded.
Ooh, gilded.
And the jazz community is very insular in the same way that we don't cover a ton of metal stuff. We cover breakout metal albums that are absolutely,
As we say that, I do actually have a couple recommendations if you are a jazz head and you need some cool jazz stuff.
Miles
that I've
Davis.
thought of.
Sorry.
No. Nick Dunstan is an artist we've talked about. I wrote a review on one of his albums. He's had a couple other things come out since, but a really cool modern and experimental jazz musician who is young and with it and is making really cool stuff. And then there's also a label, I think, called, and it's an event series too in London called Jazz Refreshed. That is just trying to bring old and new jazz together and do events with it and stuff. So it's all a bunch of underground jazz.
I thought you were about to go somewhere with that where you're I got something for you jazz heads. Stick this up your ass.
Ooh, no.
Bug you.
No, I was thinking of all the jazz resources I have in my head. I'm wait, I actually do have a couple things.
Those are great recommendations, Carrie. Thank you.
If you're a jazz head. But yeah, no, I don't get into all that theory like Michael was saying too. It's they have played us for absolute fools.
I mean, if anyone would be able to do it, it'd be you, right? Didn't you do smart music shit in school?
Not the Mixolydian shit. Oh, shit. I only had to take theory 2 and oral skills 2.
Minor.
I do. Okay, I can tell you about A minor.
A minor.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, guys.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
That's what I say when somebody asks me what the key is something.
Michael, that was so funny.
Well, thanks for listening to our podcast, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoy listening to our pick for album of the month. What was it again? Twilight in the Forbidden City by Stanicpornocultshop. Listen to all their other stuff too. They've been around for quite a while and have some good records out.
You can buy all of their records for $571
each.
All together on Bandcamp.
What a deal!
Or
they probably have
I love the
Afterpay
bundle deals on Bandcamp.
It presented me that as an option when I was looking to buy it, and I was what if I accidentally clicked I bought $570?
Guys, I bought the bundle. That would be awesome.
I'd be you know what? I'm
cool.
so excited to listen.
That's probably rent.
I know, bitch. That's rent.
That's rent. That's your rent. No, I don't know.
This person lives in Japan. I think rent's cheap in Japan.
Wow, cool.
Right?
Good stuff.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't think it's cheap.
Are you guys ready to go eat cabbage stew? Okay.
All right. Yeah, everyone have a good 2025. We can officially close the books on 2024.
We did
We're
it.
done.
Our
It's
last
over.
piece of content from last year.
2024 is over.